We do have a challenge though, because with this massive opportunity comes unique challenges, and the challenge is for us to develop a workforce that is skilled to deliver the growth and the prosperity that the sector requires. And now, maybe for the audience, and maybe just to ground us more in terms of the Namibian context, the size and the scale of the problem is as follows. In the Namibian green hydrogen strategy, there's an indication of at least 85,000. Right. There is at least 85,000 jobs, direct jobs, that could potentially be generated by 2030. At current capacities within the country, Namibia is able to deliver between 5,000 and 10,000 of those jobs at semi-skilled level, and similarly for skills for the really skilled level, another 5,000 to 10,000. And so that leaves us with a significant gap. So with that in mind, I'd like to pose the first question to you, Mr. Otter. There's obviously a clear nexus between a lack of skills, unemployment, and poor economic performance or development. Would you like to just unpack that for us a little bit?
Yes, thank you for having us. I'm clear. Does everybody hear me?
Yeah.
This is better? Okay. Obviously, if there are no skills, there's no business to be made, because business needs the skills to execute. And if there's no business, there's no economic development. So the skills are of vital importance. And the good thing about the whole hydrogen development, it has a long-term vision, and it's becoming clear what skills are needed. And you have the government, there's business, and there's the workforce. And the workforce needs to be skilled. They need to be learned how to do the things that are needed. And those governments and businesses, they need to work together to get those things started. And I think businesses have a big opportunity or a big responsibility to contribute on that, maybe financially, but also in defining what skills are needed. And we were just at the breakout session on the hydrogen center that needs to be established. I think that would be a place to define what skills are needed on all levels and on all, in both width and height. And that's something that needs to be addressed by the government in the educational system.
In the private sector, and specifically the educational institutions, probably on both sides. Moving to you, Prof. Indongo. Obviously, as Namibia is embarking on implementation of the green hydrogen strategy, do you think we fully appreciate the impact that the rapid deployment of these new technologies will have on the job market in Namibia?
Thank you, Tony, for the question. We all understand that the introduction of new technology comes with the challenges of demand and supply. The demand for skilled and reskilling human resources. And this has been a pertinent question for everyone when the concept was introduced in the country. The country, of course, expects young people to champion the new technology demands, the demands of the whole value chain, from planning to the end product, service delivery, but also to ensure sustainability. When the green hydrogen plants are constructed, there will be demand, of course, for technical skilled workers. And there will be need for supply of specific materials. However, it does not end there. The market will demand sustainable and reliable supply chain, including reliable transportation and storage facilities, but also environmentally friendly disposal of waste products and materials as well as equipment for the production and for supply. So the picture is wide enough, Tony, and it is important that young people and all players are made aware of this, playing their role not only as job seekers, but also as business partners in the whole value chain. And we have to be cautious, of course, to avoid job losses in the process, because especially with the declining opportunities in the fossil fuel sector, workers from these declining sectors have to be capacitated and reskilled to fit in the whole process. So I must say that this is really a wonderful platform, engaging with the partners who have already gone through the process successfully, and the rapid introduction of this new technology for good cause, of course, and the opportunities are now, and time is now to act. However, it really requires effort from all of us as stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. So what I'm hearing is really that this is part and parcel of this massive energy transition that Namibia and the world is undergoing, and we need comprehensive strategies again to address them. Maybe just pivoting slightly, when we look at Namibia, what do you think are the specializations at both graduate level but also technical and vocational education that we need to focus on and prioritize? And if I can add just a second dimension to that question, if we look at our current educational institutions around the country, what would you say are the most critical areas that we need to address if we want to achieve these goals?
Yes, Tony, I think with the energy shift, there will be a technical gap between the demand and supply. So one of the most urgent attention that we need to pay attention to as universities or training institutions is really to align the curriculum to meet the demand. The need for specialized roles, including engineers, technicians, as well as professionals in the renewable energy integration, as well as energy policies, okay? The new technology comes with its own requirements, and although we may need to, we have welders, for instance, or perhaps engineers in the industry, they may need to be reskilled. They need to be capacitated to do so with the type of materials used for green hydrogen storage, for instance. We need to reskill and recapacitate them. Apart from, of course, modifying the curriculum, the academic institutions are expected to advance their collaboration with their collaboration efforts in research. Collaboration efforts in research, not only with the institutions or industries within the country, but even beyond, like this, through this partnership. We need to really advance our collaborative efforts. Okay, with Denmark and of course with the Netherlands. I think that is really crucial for us.
Thank you, Prof. I'd like to pose the next question to the two private sector players that we have on the panel. And it's the question of the role that private sector should play in developing skills. I think more and more there is investment being made proactively by the private sector. My question is, isn't there a risk of decoupling the role of training for renewables from government too much? And do you think this approach is a sustainable approach?
Thank you, Tony. I think this it's not really a single entity role. It needs both private and public to collaborate and work together, because it's not sustainable for one entity just to drive this.
Yeah, I think the business or the private sector has a main responsibility because they are usually good financed and they are the ones that need the skills. So they need to be involved. And like our company does, it is a company that provides education as a solar installer. We are a solar developer, so it's in our interest. But we also have a program called LISP, Land Inclusive Solar Parks, that really wants to involve the community. And one of the big things in Namibia is unemployment. So focusing on that, we provide education to people. We're not bound to Terrawatt, but we do want to provide that. And the sector will benefit, and we will benefit from the people that are getting educated. And from what we learn is that, especially the less privileged, they are very eager to learn. And most of the time are less privileged because of a lack of access to education. So providing access to education, I think, will provide a big economic development, because investment in education is always a good investment, and that will grow also the hydrogen sector.
Thank you. Definitely this collaborative approach, especially in the new industry, would be critical for delivery of the strategies. But staying with investment in private sector in skills development, Ms. Dylander, you obviously represent one of the Danish pension funds. Can you tell us a little bit about whether there is scope and a place for pension funds, private pension funds, to make a contribution to skills development in this way?
Yes, thanks for the question, and great to be here. This is my first time in Southern Africa and Namibia, and it's just fantastic. Great being on this panel. Thanks for inviting me. So I definitely did, to put a short answer to your question, I definitely think there's a role for private investors and companies to play in skills development. I very much concur with what you just said about it's not either or public or private, it's both. So the way we do it is by partnering up. We don't have the expertise in working in Africa within this area, so we work with the Danish DFI, Torben. We work with Maersk and a couple of other partners who have the expertise, the know-how, and so on. We partner up, we get them to take the top of the risk, and then we venture into investments in emerging markets and developing economies. And why am I saying this? It's because I'm representing a Danish pension fund, actually the third largest pension fund in Denmark. We've got $54 billion in asset under management, and around 13% of that is in what we call the sustainable area, so mostly green, but also social investments. And we really want to scale up in emerging markets and developing economies. So a couple of points. What we do before we invest is we conduct a screening to ensure that the projects meet the minimum ILO and OECD standards. We of course conduct a due diligence process where we focus on labor rights, empowering women, job creation, health and safety, and so on. And part of the contract is to ensure the education of the workers. And sometimes there are actually goals on the number of jobs created, or health and safety measures, and so on. Then during the investment, we monitor, we get yearly reports on jobs created, things like that. We look at the international environmental and social standards and principles and see if they concur. And so the way we look at it is local skills are important and actually a license to operate for us in these countries. I'm not speaking about Namibia in particular, but in general. And we see that skills are required at many levels, and almost everything is on the job training, since often the relevant education, or when relevant education is not available. So definitely.
So what we're really talking about is impact investing, so taking all of the ESG criteria into account for your investment strategies.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have any specific examples that you can cite?
Yes, I have an example, and it's actually from Namibia, now that I'm here. Again, through the Danish DFI, we invest in Namibia via the Silverland Fund that some of you might know. So Silverland Namibia is a great producer in the Ohlthaver Valley along the Orange River. And there are about 1,600 employees, and I think 950 jobs were created since it started, and 43 of that number is women. So the business plan is to replace old grape areas with new ones, but also with date palm trees, with blueberries, and so on. So you have a year-round production, as I understand it. And what we do there is have on the job training, extensive training and preparation to ensure that the quality is always maintained, but also taking serious the challenges that the community faces in terms of water, in terms of creating a health clinic and a nursery close to the farm to enable the women to work there. So thinking it more holistically, not just training, but also thinking about, how to make workers better, but also being able to stay there.
Thank you. I'd like to pivot the conversation slightly, and this one is to Ms. Kankondi. Knowing what we know about the challenges around the available skills in Namibia, do you think it's appropriate for Namibia, as we implement the green hydrogen strategy, to be looking at additional criteria such as inclusion or gender balance and those sorts of criteria to try and place people, or should it be purely a function of the best candidate gets the job?
It's critical and crucial to strive inclusivity and gender balanced workforce, or let's say diverse workforce. Gender equality is a fundamental of human rights, and every individual, irrespective of being a gender or deserve a opportunity, equal opportunity and representative. Promoting inclusivity is in the workforce, ensure fairness, dignity, and respect of all individuals. In Namibia, we are bounded by Affirmative Action Act 29 of 1998, which set grounds of diversity in the workforce. So, compliance with that statute, we shall strive to include a workforce of the Namibian demographic, of which gender is a metric.
Thank you. I suppose what we could add is that the two, I suppose, doesn't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. I completely agree with you that compliance to the Affirmative Action Act would be so critical. And there we look at even broader categorizations of designated groups. So beyond women, we look at people with disabilities, racially disadvantaged people in this country, and so on. But I suppose the point is to introduce equity and fairness in our recruitment processes. And that the two can coexist. I think the women on the panel would represent that it is possible to have both, right? I don't know if there are any other views on this particular topic.
Yes, we can do that without compromising skills and knowledge.
Are there any other takers?
I'm fully in agreement.
All right. I think we're quickly running out of time. I would like to pose the final question to the panel, and it's an open one. And in fact, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to share some information, we're happy to take you as well. And the question is, we're obviously, Namibia is not the first country to be challenged in this way in terms of skills and trying to do that in a new industry. What are the countries or jurisdictions out there that we can take lessons from? So in terms of what has worked and what hasn't worked.
Tony, I also want to say that every new technology comes with its own challenges, but often us as implementers, we consider these as opportunities for things to happen. Yes, we may have a shortage of required skills at the moment, but this gives us an opportunity to reskill and upskill, as we may have those that are currently trained as technicians, as engineers, as environmental scientists, as energy experts, but they only require some refresher or short-term training. So I just want to conclude by saying that let us maximize on such good opportunities like the one which we have today to make things happen in this green hydrogen era.
Yeah, if you talk about examples, I think in the Netherlands there's a high demand of solar energy, in the rest of the world basically as well. But there's a lack of skills, or the lack of people that have the skills, but they are implementing PV. And that's not always working out. So from the Netherlands, there's an initiative from insurance companies for a new certificate called Scope 12. And that would be a high level of quality. But that requires people with skills to do the PV installations. And it started in the Netherlands, but it's going global already, because the insurance companies, they really want this to happen, because if there's a fire or a malfunction or downtime, it all comes back to the insurance companies. So they are the initiator of getting that level up, and that also requires the skills. So we want to take that to our projects in Namibia, and that will also be put up to the skill deliverers or the educators to take that certificate as an example. Hey, we need to meet that standard, and that will raise the skill set of the workforce. So that's as an example.
Thank you. Are there any takers in the audience?
Can you hear me like this? Yes, thank you. I'm colleague of Gerard, also Terrawatt. What we have done, we started 3 years ago in this country, and we started with training people and talking about gender equality. The lady who was leading the center, the director, is here today to sign a contract with us that we will actually train more people. An agreement has been made for every megawatt. We will pay for one student. And I'm looking at our Danish partners here. Maybe you should have a small meeting with her after this, but that's a challenge. Investing in the people here is investing in yourself, investing in the future. That's all I have to add.
Good afternoon. My name is Dewi from the Namibia Energy Institute. We are currently doing developing the skills roadmap for the green hydrogen. What we are finding as a gap, we have basically at the vocational training center, we are training from level 1 to level 3, that is the artisan level. And then at the universities, we are training from level 7 up to level 10 basically. And so what we are finding out is that the more jobs that are required are into construction, meaning at the technician level. The engineers, they have more theory, and basically what you need as a student, you need theory and immediately practical at the work. And then you need the third one, which is on-job training. The 2 practical sessions are missing. And so you find that the VTC people are more low skills, so they are also not employed. The university level, they are more qualified, but also only have theory. So what we are saying is this happened because our industry is very small. And also the culture of our history. The companies are not meant to provide training. They have never participated in providing on-job training. And that's why we always think this partnership can really unlock the partnership. For example, NTA has already a levy that can support a company if the company wants to provide apprentice, what we call apprentice or on-job training. There is already a levy and it's available, but our local companies, especially that are into renewable energy, are not really interested. They are more interested to take from somebody who just came from school, they train them themselves, and this person will be then just a labeler. So, because they do not have qualification. So my recommendation is really to say, we have disqualified people, either from artisan or from the university level engineers, that need to be upskilled, like Prof have just said. So the Ministry of Labor is registering all this, and we need to communicate with all, so we can provide this on-job training which is missing. And obviously we also need to give the renewable energy qualification theory for those who have done only electrical. So we have identified all this base occupational, it's available and we can share.
Thank you very much, Ms. Halby. I completely agree. As Heineken, we have in our initial assessments made very, very similar, or arrived at very similar conclusions, and that there is a real gap in that level 3 and 4 from a technical and educational, vocational perspective. We also anticipate that in the construction phase especially, our workforce will probably constitute between 50 and 60% within that level. So there's a real opportunity as we talk about collaboration between public and private sector for companies to come in and provide apprenticeship programs, etc. I think we're probably out of time at this stage. So I'd like to thank the panel, thank you, the audience, for your attention. Can you please give the audience the panel a round of applause?